She never set an alarm, but her body always woke her up, 3:12 a.m., without fail. It didn't matter what time she went to bed, what she ate, or whether she had a peaceful evening. Something inside her, deep and wordless, stirred her from sleep like clockwork. Some nights she felt like she was being chased in her dreams. Other nights her chest tightened before her eyes even opened. And always, the same hour, the same haunting rhythm. For a long time, she blamed stress. Then hormones. Then her mattress. But nothing explained the pattern. Nothing helped it stop. It wasn't until she began working with a somatic therapist that something clicked. They weren't talking about dreams or thoughts. They were talking about the body. Where do you feel the tightness? When did it start? What was happening in your life when the 3 a.m. awakenings began? That's when the memory surfaced. A detail she had buried so deep she forgot it existed. Years ago, at 3 a.m. on a cold winter night, she had woken to a phone call. A trauma. A moment her body never fully released. Her mind had long moved on, but her nervous system had not. It was still keeping watch. This is the power of somatic memory. The body remembers what the mind forgets. It holds the stress, the fear, the tension, long after the threat is gone. And often, it whispers its pain through your sleep. In this episode, we're going to explore what happens when stress lives in the body, and how, by working with the body instead of fighting against it, you can finally begin to rest. Truly rest. Because sleep doesn't just happen in the mind, it starts in the body. And sometimes, the reason you can't sleep is because your body still thinks you're not safe. The body remembers. Understanding somatic stress and sleep. You've probably heard the phrase, the body keeps the score. It sounds poetic, maybe even dramatic. But what if it's literally true? What if your body has a memory, not just of events, but of emotional states, survival responses, and frozen moments in time? What if your inability to fall asleep, your racing heart at 2 a.m., or that gnawing restlessness in your legs isn't just insomnia, but unprocessed stress that never had a chance to leave your system? Here's the truth. While your conscious mind may move on, your body rarely forgets. Every time you've been in danger, real or perceived, your nervous system responded. It didn't wait for you to think. It acted. Heart rate up, breathing shallow, muscles tense, blood redirected to your limbs, ready to fight or flee. It's a brilliant design, meant to save your life. But here's the catch. What happens when that danger doesn't resolve? When the threat isn't a tiger, but a parent's silence, a car crash, a breakup, a pandemic, a childhood of always waiting for the other shoe to drop. What happens is this. Your body braces and stays there. The tension becomes chronic, the alertness normalized, your baseline shifts, and suddenly stillness feels threatening. Relaxation feels foreign, and sleep, it becomes a battlefield. Because how can you sleep when your body still thinks it's not safe? This is somatic stress, not the kind you think about, but the kind you feel. The kind that lives in your fascia, your jaw, your gut, your diaphragm. It shows up as neck pain, shallow breathing, clenched fists, tight hips. It shows up in symptoms that don't respond to logic. Tossing and turning, waking in the middle of the night, waking exhausted even after 8 hours in bed. Somatic stress is tricky because it bypasses thought. You can meditate, say affirmations, even journal every night, and still find yourself sleepless. Because the stress isn't in your thoughts, it's in your tissues. And science backs this up. Studies on PTSD, chronic stress, and even childhood adversity show clear links between somatic symptoms and disrupted sleep. People who've experienced trauma, whether overt or subtle, often have dysregulated cortisol rhythms, altered heart rate variability, and overactive limbic systems. In plain terms, their bodies stay on, even when the world is quiet. That's why traditional sleep advice doesn't always work. You can dim the lights, avoid caffeine, turn off your phone, and still lie there wired, heart pounding. Because your nervous system hasn't gotten the message. Because you're still, at a cellular level, in survival mode. But there's hope, and it starts with understanding the body not as the enemy but as the storyteller. Your tension isn't a failure, it's a message. Your sleeplessness isn't rebellion, it's a signal. Your body isn't broken, it's trying to protect you, even if the threat is long gone. The question becomes, how do you help your body feel safe again? Not through force, not through willpower, but through presence. Through practices that speak the language of the body, not just the mind. That's what this episode is about. Giving your body the space to unwind what it never got to finish. Completing the stress response, releasing what was frozen, and inviting rest to return. Not as a reward, but as your natural state. Because when the body remembers, it doesn't just hold pain. It also holds the map home. Trauma and sleep, the biological imprint. Not all trauma screams, some of it whispers, through the racing of your heart at night, the clenched jaw as you lie in bed, the inexplicable tightness in your chest at 3 a.m. And perhaps the most unsettling thing? You don't even feel particularly stressed. You're not crying, you're not panicking, but you still can't sleep. That's not weakness, that's biology. To understand how trauma affects sleep, you have to look at how it rewires the brain and body. Let's start with the nervous system. When we face a threat, physical or emotional, our autonomic nervous system kicks in. It has two branches, the sympathetic, fight or flight, and the parasympathetic, rest and digest. In a healthy body, these two systems work in balance, like a seesaw. You get stressed, you deal with it, and then you calm down. But when trauma hits, especially if it's chronic, overwhelming, or inescapable, that seesaw breaks. The body gets stuck in survival mode. It no longer toggles back to calm. Instead, it stays hypervigilant, even while you're lying safely in your bed. What's worse, trauma doesn't need to be dramatic to be real. You don't need to have been in a war, a car accident, or a natural disaster. Emotional neglect, chronic criticism, growing up in unpredictable environments, never feeling seen or safe. These too are forms of trauma, and the body responds all the same. On a physiological level, here's what happens. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, gets thrown off rhythm. Normally, it should be high in the morning to help you wake and low at night to help you sleep. But in trauma survivors, that curve flattens or even reverses. You get tired during the day and wired at night. Melatonin production, which helps signal the brain it's time to sleep, gets suppressed. Your body literally forgets how to wind down. The hippocampus, the part of the brain that helps form memories and regulate emotional responses, shrinks under chronic stress. The amygdala, your brain's smoke alarm, becomes hyperactive. You start interpreting neutral things as threats, a creaking door, a raised eyebrow, a memory triggered by a scent. All of it puts you back on edge. And the prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain that says you're safe, it's okay, loses its power. So you lie in bed, heart pounding, with no real danger in sight. But your body doesn't know that. This is why trauma-informed sleep interventions are different. They don't just ask, how do we help you sleep more? They ask, why does your body think it's not safe to rest? Because for someone who's lived in survival mode, stillness can feel dangerous. The quiet can feel threatening. After all, if you've lived in fight or flight for years, rest doesn't feel familiar. It feels like losing control. And let's not forget the freeze response. Everyone knows fight or flight, but freeze is what happens when the body decides, I can't win this. I can't run, so I'll numb out. It's a shutdown state, emotionally, physically, energetically. People in freeze look calm on the outside, but feel dead on the inside. And here's the cruel irony, it's often mistaken for relaxation. You might think you're lying in bed ready to sleep, but what you're really doing is dissociating. So how does this all tie into sleep? When your nervous system is dysregulated, whether through trauma, chronic stress, or burnout, your sleep becomes fragmented. You may fall asleep but wake up multiple times. You may stay asleep but never reach the deep restorative stages. You may toss and turn for hours, feeling exhausted but unable to switch off. And worst of all, you may start dreading bedtime itself because it's become a battleground. This isn't just psychological, it's biological. And healing it requires more than white noise machines and blackout curtains. It requires reteaching the body what safety feels like. Because you can't think your way into rest, you have to feel it. And that's where somatic practices come in. They don't fix you. They remind you of what it feels like to exhale, to release, to drop your shoulders, to soften your belly, to be held by your breath, your body, your bed. Because the truth is, trauma leaves an imprint, but so does healing. The freeze response, why some stress doesn't go away. Most of us have heard of fight or flight. It's our body's built-in alarm system ready to activate when we face danger. The heart races, blood pumps to the limbs, adrenaline surges. It's primal, fast, and life-saving. But what happens when you can't fight? When you can't run? When the threat is emotional, chronic, or too overwhelming to escape? Your body chooses the third option, freeze. The freeze response is your nervous system's way of playing dead. It numbs sensation, locks muscles, slows movement, and disconnects awareness. In the wild, it's what animals do when they're caught by a predator. Play dead. Go limp. Hope to survive. In humans, it's more subtle, but just as powerful. And here's the kicker. Many people are living in a freeze state without even knowing it. They're not hyper, anxious, or panicked. Instead, they're foggy, disconnected, numb. They go through the motions of daily life, but nothing feels real. Sleep doesn't come easily, not because they're too wired, but because they're too shut down. The body is still, but it's not relaxed. It's frozen. And this is where it gets confusing. Freeze looks like calm on the outside. To others, and even to yourself, it might seem like you're fine. You're not yelling, you're not crying, you're lying in bed quietly. But your body is holding its breath. Your muscles are clenched. Your nervous system is frozen in time, still waiting for the moment to pass. This is why sleep can feel impossible for some people. Because to fall asleep, your body has to feel safe enough to let go. But if you're stuck in freeze, letting go feels like death. Stillness equals danger. Relaxation feels unfamiliar. You might lie there thinking, why can't I sleep? I'm not even stressed. But stress doesn't always feel like panic. Sometimes it feels like emptiness. The freeze response is also why traditional sleep advice doesn't work for everyone. You can try lavender, white noise, meditation, and still feel like something inside you won't move. That something is your nervous system, still frozen in an old pattern of survival. How does this happen? It often begins in childhood. Maybe you grew up in a home where expressing emotion wasn't safe. Maybe conflict was constant, and the best way to survive was to shut down. Maybe you experienced trauma, but didn't have anyone to help you process it. So your body adapted. It chose freeze. Not because you were weak, but because it was the smartest, right, safest thing to do at the time. But what helps you survive then can hold you hostage now. Freeze doesn't go away on its own. It gets stored in your posture, in your breathing, in the tightness of your belly, in your inability to fall asleep or wake feeling rested. The body carries it until it's given permission to release. And here's the hope. Freeze is not a life sentence. It's a temporary adaptation. And once your body realizes it's no longer in danger, it can begin to thaw. But this doesn't happen through logic. You can't talk yourself out of freeze. You have to move your way out. Breathe your way out. Feel your way out. Slowly, gently, with compassion. Somatic practices like shaking, breath work, and gentle movement can help unfreeze the system. They don't push, they invite. They give your body a chance to complete the stress response it never got to finish. To move from freeze back into flow. Because sleep isn't just a mental surrender. It's a full body exhale. And if your body's still frozen, that exhale can't happen. But once you start to thaw, to feel again, to move again, to breathe again, something shifts. Sleep becomes possible, not because you forced it, but because your body finally feels safe enough to rest. Somatic practices that rewire sleep. Your body doesn't speak English. It doesn't respond to logic or affirmations or long to-do lists. It speaks in sensation, in tension, in movement, in breath. So if you want to change your relationship with sleep, if you want to help your body unwind, you need to speak its language. That's where somatic practices come in. Somatic healing isn't about fixing anything. It's about allowing the body to complete stress cycles it never got to finish, allowing tension to soften, allowing the nervous system to downshift. These practices are gentle, non-invasive, and profoundly powerful. And the best part? You can do most of them from your bedroom floor. Let's begin with shaking. In the wild, animals instinctively shake after a threat has passed. Ever seen a dog tremble after a loud noise? That's the nervous system discharging excess energy. Humans are the only species that override this natural process. We suppress, we freeze, we stay polite. But shaking, literally letting your body tremble, bounce, and move, is a primal release. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart, knees soft, and gently start bouncing. Let your arms flap, jaw relax, shoulders jiggle. No performance, no choreography. Just let go. 2 to 5 minutes is enough. You might feel silly at first, but your body will thank you. Then there's somatic breath work. Not the kind where you aim to breathe correctly, but breath that's about awareness, sensation, and presence. Try a simple technique called 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale through your mouth for 8. Repeat for 3 to 5 rounds. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest branch, and tells your body it's safe to relax. Or try vagus nerve toning, humming, sighing, or chanting. These sounds vibrate your throat and stimulate the vagus nerve, which runs from your brainstem down to your gut. A regulated vagus nerve is essential for good sleep. Try this before bed. Close your eyes, take a breath, and hum low and slow on the exhale. Let the vibration move through your chest. It's not about being musical, it's about being present. Body scanning is another simple, potent tool. Lie down and bring your attention one by one to different parts of your body. Start at your feet. Notice sensation, warmth, tension, tingling, numbness. No need to change anything, just feel. Then move up to your ankles, calves, knees, thighs, all the way to your face. This practice reintegrates awareness into places that may have been frozen or numb. You're saying, I'm here, I'm listening. EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique, is another somatic gem. It involves gently tapping on specific meridian points on your body while focusing on a thought or emotion. Think of it as acupuncture without needles. You can tap on your temples, collarbone, under the nose, the side of the hand. Many people use this to calm anxiety before sleep, especially if the mind is racing. There are countless free guides online. Once you get the hang of it, it takes only 5 minutes. And then there's restorative movement. Think yin yoga, gentle stretching, or just rolling around on the floor like a cat. Let your body move the way it wants. Follow curiosity, not rules. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Play some soft music and ask your body, what would feel good right now? Trust the answer. These practices may seem simple, and they are. But don't confuse simple with ineffective. What they're doing is profound. They're restoring communication between your brain and body. They're updating your nervous system. They're saying the danger is over. You made it. You can rest now. Consistency is key. Doing a 3-minute shake once won't undo years of tension. But a nightly ritual, even just 10 minutes, can slowly teach your body a new rhythm. A rhythm of trust, of softness, of surrender. And here's the beauty. As your body learns to release, your sleep begins to return. Not through force, not through pills, but because the conditions for rest, true biological rest, have finally been restored. So tonight, instead of trying to knock yourself out with melatonin or scroll yourself numb, try this. Put a hand on your chest, another on your belly. Take a slow breath. Hum softly, shake gently. Feel your feet, and whisper to your nervous system, it's okay. You're home. Because rest isn't something you earn, it's something your body remembers, once you give it a chance. Rest is not laziness, redefining recovery in the nervous system. In a culture that idolizes hustle, where sleep is for the weak and rest is seen as indulgent, simply taking a nap or slowing down can feel like rebellion. We've been conditioned to believe that unless we're doing, producing, achieving, we're wasting time. So we power through fatigue. We drink coffee instead of resting. We scroll instead of feeling. We call exhaustion normal. But let me say this clearly, rest is not laziness. Rest is biology. Rest is sacred. And for a nervous system in survival mode, rest is not optional, it's essential. The nervous system wasn't designed for non-stop alertness. It needs cycles, waves, tension and release, activation and recovery. But modern life breaks that cycle. Emails don't stop, screens never sleep. Our bodies flooded with information, stimulation, and cortisol forget what true recovery even feels like. And worse, many people confuse numbness with rest. You come home, crash on the couch, and binge Netflix for hours. It feels passive, but it's not restorative, because your body isn't exhaling, it's frozen. There's a difference between collapse and calm. One is a shutdown, the other is surrender. One is disconnection, the other is presence. True rest is not avoidance. It's not zoning out, it's tuning in to what your body is asking for without guilt. Sometimes rest looks like lying in a dark room with your eyes closed. Sometimes it looks like crying on the floor. Sometimes it's a bath. Sometimes it's saying no. It's choosing your nervous system over your notifications. But why does rest feel so hard? Because when you've lived in fight or flight, stillness feels unfamiliar. The silence can feel louder than the noise. Your body, so used to tension, doesn't know how to let go. And your mind, shaped by years of cultural messaging, tells you you're lazy, weak, or falling behind. So even when you try to rest, you can't. You lie in bed, but you feel restless. You take a day off, but feel anxious. That's not your fault. That's dysregulation. To heal, we must redefine rest. Not as a break from life, but as a return to it. Rest is how your body repairs tissue. It's how your brain consolidates memory. It's when your immune system strengthens, your hormones balance, your nervous system recalibrates. Sleep isn't just something nice to have. It's the foundation for every other function. And recovery isn't just sleep. It's everything that brings you back into regulation. That might be a walk in nature, breathwork, laughter, time with people who make you feel safe, journaling, dancing, silence. Each of these can be a kind of rest when approached with presence. It's also time to stop measuring rest by productivity. You don't have to earn rest by working hard enough. You don't have to justify it with burnout. You don't need to explain why you're going to bed at 8:30 p.m. or why you're skipping a social event. Your body is reason enough. This is especially important in a capitalist culture like America's, where worth is so often tied to output. Many of us have internalized the idea that our value comes from what we do. But your body doesn't care about deadlines. It cares about rhythm, pulse, breath, safety. It thrives on cycles of effort and ease, not constant motion. The irony? You're actually more productive when you rest. You think clearer, feel deeper, love fuller, heal faster, sleep better. Your work improves when your nervous system isn't in survival mode. So rest isn't just resistance. It's wisdom, it's strategy, it's love for your future self. So the next time you feel the urge to push through, pause. Ask your body, do I need to rest? Not because you're weak, but because you're worthy. Because healing doesn't happen in the doing, it happens in the stillness. And every time you choose rest, you're not falling behind, you're coming home. Touch, temperature, and movement, regulating the body through sensory cues. When we think about healing sleep problems, we often jump straight to thoughts and emotions, stress, trauma, anxiety. And while those matter deeply, they're not the whole story. The nervous system doesn't just respond to thoughts, it responds to sensation. And sometimes, the fastest way to regulate your stress response, to help your body feel safe enough to sleep, is through touch, temperature, and movement. Let's start with touch. Human skin is wired with sensory receptors that communicate directly with the brain. Safe, comforting touch, whether from another person, an object, or even yourself, sends signals to the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic system. This downregulates cortisol, slows the heart rate, and creates a felt sense of safety. That's why weighted blankets work so well for many people. The deep pressure they apply is similar to a firm hug, activating what's called deep pressure stimulation. This has been shown to lower heart rate, decrease nighttime awakenings, and increase time spent in deep sleep stages. It's not just cozy, it's neurological. For people with trauma histories or chronic anxiety, the firm, grounding feel of a heavy blanket can help the body understand you're held, you're safe, you can let go. And even if you don't have a weighted blanket, you can mimic the effect. Try wrapping yourself tightly in a regular blanket like a cocoon. Use a body pillow pressed against your side. Or try self-holding. Cross your arms, place your hands on opposite shoulders or upper arms, and gently squeeze. This may seem simple, but the nervous system reads it as reassurance. You are not alone. Next is temperature. The body's ability to fall asleep is linked to its ability to drop core temperature. That's why people often sleep better in cooler rooms. But thermal regulation can also be used intentionally to calm the nervous system. Taking a warm bath or shower before bed helps. The warm water dilates blood vessels, which increases peripheral circulation. When you get out of the bath, your body cools down, mimicking the natural drop in temperature that precedes sleep. The added benefit? Water itself is somatically soothing. It creates a boundary between you and the outside world. The sound, sensation, and flow can reset sensory overload. You can also experiment with cooling the head and warming the feet. This reverses heat flow and signals the body it's time to rest. Try a cold compress on your forehead or a cooling eye mask, paired with warm socks or a heated foot pad. These subtle cues tell the nervous system, we're not in danger. We can soften now. Then comes rhythmic movement, one of the most primal body-based tools for regulation. Think rocking, swaying, gentle repetition. We rock babies for a reason. The vestibular system in the inner ear helps control balance and spatial orientation, and rhythmic movement calms it down. Adults benefit too. You can try lying on your back with knees bent and slowly rocking them side to side. Or sit on the edge of your bed and gently sway your torso forward and back. Use a rocking chair, or even place one hand on your chest and the other on your belly and gently pulse with your breath. These small, repetitive movements help bring the nervous system from chaos into coherence. All of these sensory cues work because they bypass the thinking brain. They speak directly to the body's ancient systems that evolved long before language. And in doing so, they provide something we often miss in modern life: nonverbal safety. Because not all trauma is verbal, not all stress is conscious, and not all healing needs to be intellectual. Sometimes it's enough to feel warm, to feel held, to move in rhythm, to wrap yourself in softness and say, not with words but with action, I'm here, I'm listening, you're okay now. So the next time you're lying awake at 2 a.m. instead of wrestling with your thoughts, try speaking to your body. Give it weight, give it warmth, give it rhythm. Let sensation be the language of safety. And in that quiet, your nervous system may finally exhale and sleep. When the body leads the healing, letting go of the need to figure it out. There's a moment in many people's healing journey when they hit a wall. They've read the books, they've listened to the podcasts, they've journaled their feelings and tried to connect the dots. They've asked, why can't I sleep, 1,000 times? They've gone to therapy, they've tried mindfulness, but still, The anxiety lingers, the body tenses, the sleep won't come. And it's here, in this frustrating, humbling space, that something radically different is asked of us. To stop thinking our way out and start feeling our way through. The truth is, your body often knows things long before your mind does. It holds stories that don't have words. It remembers experiences your brain chose to forget. It responds to situations with instincts shaped by years of survival. So trying to understand everything, trying to mentally untangle every knot, can sometimes just add more tension. That's not to say insight is useless. Understanding is powerful. But insight without embodiment doesn't lead to change. You can know why you're stressed, know the origin of your trauma, even know what you're supposed to do, and still be stuck. Because the body hasn't caught up, or rather, it hasn't been invited. The body doesn't speak in paragraphs. It speaks in pulses, in heartbeats, in clenched jaws and shallow breaths, and sometimes the most profound healing begins when we stop trying to explain it all, and instead start noticing, sensing, being. This is especially true with sleep. You don't fall asleep by convincing your brain it's time. You fall asleep because your body feels safe, because it's allowed to downshift, because it has permission to let go. And you can't logic your way into that. You have to embody it. This is where somatic healing becomes a form of surrender, not defeat, not giving up, but choosing to trust that your body isn't broken, that it's doing its best with the signals it's receiving, and that if you change those signals through movement, breath, rhythm, safety, your body will respond. It may not happen instantly. Healing is not linear. Some nights you'll sleep like a rock. Others you'll toss and turn. That doesn't mean it's not working. It means your system is learning a new language, one built on patience, presence, and permission. So the next time you find yourself spiraling in thoughts like, why am I like this? Or what's wrong with me? Pause. Take a breath. Put your hand on your chest and ask a different question. What does my body need right now? Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. Maybe it needs movement. Maybe it needs stillness. Maybe it needs to cry. Maybe it needs to be held. Maybe it needs to shake or scream or hum or simply be acknowledged. You don't need to know the full story. You don't need to explain why. You just need to listen and let the body lead. Because healing isn't always a light bulb moment. Sometimes it's subtle, quiet. It's choosing to breathe when you want to dissociate. It's unclenching your jaw. It's staying with a feeling for 3 more seconds than you did yesterday. It's falling asleep not because your mind is finally silent, but because your body finally believes it's safe. Letting go of the need to figure it all out isn't failure. It's maturity. It's respect. It's saying, I don't have to understand everything to begin healing. And often, that's when the most profound shifts begin. When the mind steps back, and the body remembers how to come home. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's episode, it's this. Your body isn't the enemy. The tension, the tightness, the tossing and turning at 2 a.m., they're not signs that you're broken. They're signs that your nervous system is trying to protect you the best way it knows how. And somatic practices aren't about fixing yourself. They're about returning to yourself. Listening, moving, breathing, reconnecting. Maybe you try shaking before bed tonight, or maybe you wrap yourself in a heavy blanket and hum softly into the dark. Maybe you just pause and place a hand on your chest and say, I'm safe now. Whatever you choose, remember you're not starting from zero. Your body already knows how to rest. We're just helping it remember. If this episode resonated with you, if you found even one moment that made you exhale a little deeper, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs it. Someone who's tired, someone who's been living in survival mode for too long. And if you've got a moment, drop a comment below. Tell me, what's one somatic practice you want to try this week? What What does your body need more of? And if you're hungry for more, don't forget, we've got an entire series diving deep into the relationship between stress and sleep. From the biology of cortisol to the impact of trauma on REM cycles, each episode is crafted to help you heal, one breath, one night, one nervous system at a time. So thank you for being here, for choosing this space, for letting your body be heard. Until next time, keep breathing, keep softening, and most of all, keep trusting that rest is possible. You are not alone, you are not too damaged, and yes, you can sleep again.